I'm Melissa Jo Smith. I curated this show, which is called It Ain't Over. So I've curated the show, which means that I chose the artists and the work. It was sort of a collaboration really between myself and Nicholas Polo of Pen People, who I'm sure you'll speak to as well. I think that one of the things about artwork is a lot of people will look at things and say, oh, I could do that, you know. But actually when you come to doing it and doing it well, the longer you spend with it, the more it evolves sometimes. Some people describe it as things that grow of their own accord. It's almost like it's growing and you're just helping it happen. So that can take time.
I first found my very first passion for my art probably when I was about 3, because I found some blue paint and I decided to paint the bathroom where I lived at home. So I do commissions like this portrait you see here behind me is of a woman called Sue Earlsgood, and she chained herself to double-decker buses, to route master buses, in order to campaign to make buses accessible. And you see the astronauts here. So she reckoned if we could put somebody on the moon, why couldn't we get a wheelchair user on a bus? So therefore chaining herself to a bus was justified. But just in case, I made sure that reflections in the astronauts' faces are a studio, not the moon, because there's questions, aren't there? There's what do we call it? When people, conspiracy theories about whether we really went to the moon or not. So I wanted to show her in her home with her cat, and she has a collection of ornaments. But also I'm really passionate about, I've got a disability, and I'm really passionate about bringing disability into the mainstream through art and changing people's idea of aesthetic, because quite often we don't see somebody in a painting who uses a wheelchair or who has to use breathing apparatus or anything like that. So to me it's really important to bring people who've been excluded from history into history, and give people a voice.
Simona, nice to meet you. I'm a project manager for Saddle Council. Well, I was involved in actually building this building and think about all the community assets that will be able to use this building, and lots of different projects can help young people in the borough. Lots of free things can be run from here. It's a really big space. I think as it's growing, we'll see what actually the young people need. Well, it's really good because it does bring the local community together, and around here there aren't many spaces like this, so it's like all these artists would not have had the possibility to show their art. There's been other things been done here, like people will be able to use the kitchen and train, pop-up kitchen and cook. So all sorts of different benefits.
This book took me probably about 9 months, yeah. But it was in the works before, and a lot of the facts in the book are actually in my other book, which is free, which is the Daylight Robbery book. I was very, very poor at school, I was bottom of the bottom class all the way through. So, at the end of 16, well, my family said to me, well, you've got to look after yourself now. You've got to leave the house, get a job, whatever. So I became a greengrocer. Very well paid in those days. And after 6 months, I realised being a greengrocer was terribly hard work. It's like 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And because you're up at 4 and you don't get back till 6 days a week, long time. And I didn't know there were such things as art schools in those days. You never heard of them. And then I heard of this and I applied with some drawings and I got in. But it wasn't art school like today. I didn't get any money to go. So I got 50 quid. I think my grant was £50 for the year. It doesn't get you far, does it? And so then when I suddenly won this life drawing scholarship, which I didn't even know I'd been put in for, I could suddenly stay. You know what I mean? I didn't even know I'd be able to stay. I basically just lied to them and said I had the money when I didn't. And they were used to that though. You are just as you were made to be, and don't you let anyone put you down. If they don't think you're doing quite the right thing, don't worry about it. They're wrong. The only person that's ever going to know what you should do is you. And too many people think that, I'll change that person in that way or that way. Never works. So, and have courage in your own ability.
So what's your name?
Malati De Silva.
Nice to meet you, Malati.
Yeah, I come from Sri Lanka.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and I have studied sculpture. First I studied painting, and then I studied sculpture in Sri Lanka, and also in Czechoslovakia. Then it was called Czechoslovakia. Now it's Czech Republic. I won a scholarship to do to the university called UMPRO. It's applied arts. I continue to be doing that. I teach modeling in clay, sculptural ceramics, and art therapy. I went to a university here to study art therapy. This sculpture is made of wood, laced with wax on it, and painted with acrylics. Right? And when it's based on skulls, as you can see, they're all skulls, human skulls. When COVID happened, all over the television, it was death. And it's all the time showing the piles of people dying and lying. There was no cure. So I created this at the time. That was a year and a bit. It's a Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist. This is a Buddhist monk. And there are people who give up the world, and this is the begging, carries a begging bowl that's under his robe, and people go to outside their home and they offer food for their living, yeah?
Where did you find your inspiration as a greengrocer?
I find inspiration from all over the place. Every time you go out, go shopping, markets, there's lots of colour and fabrics and textiles, and I like those sorts of things. I'm not always able to buy my clothes in those fabrics, so I make them myself, and I also make things for other people.
When did you become an artist?
I've been sewing since I was about 12 years old, so for quite a long time. My cousin taught me.
When did your first exhibition held?
Exhibition, I'm not too sure. This might be the first exhibition, but I've sold at craft fairs and shown my work all over the place. Yes.
So when did your next exhibition gonna hold?
Pardon?
When's your next exhibition gonna hold?
Well, maybe sometime over Christmas.
Oh,
Yes.
as you live in Southern, what values are important to you in context of living in Southern? And do you think younger people in the area share the same value?
Should
Share the same values?
I hope that all people share the same values. We're all human beings, and we should learn about each other and learn about in Southwark there are a lot of different cultures and a lot of different countries, and I think we should all learn about other people's cultures, because we live near to one another, so we should all understand one another better and be friendly.
That's good.
Yeah.
As you live in Southern, what challenges did you face living, and how do you think challenges for young people today compared to your time?
I think that it might be a bit easier because I think the children are more aware of the challenges. Well, I was a bit naive, I wasn't aware of the challenges. At least the children these days know, or the young people know what the challenges are. Maybe the problem comes in is how to solve it. They need to lean more on their parents and their family, their cousins, and their colleagues at school. Discuss any problems more and don't keep it in.
I was born in Lewisham and I've lived in London most of my life.
Where did you find your inspiration from?
I've always painted ever since a child. I found school quite difficult, and so painting was always an outlet, and drawing, and it's always been there. It's always been there.
So when did your first exhibition hold?
My first exhibition I had at the Elephant and Castle, which was it was a long time. It was about about 30. I was about 30, so it was about 35 years ago or something. And it was the Elephant and Castle, had a thing called the Green. It's too much. It's too complicated. But it was a great opportunity, and I sold some work, so I was off and running.
So when's your next exhibition going to happen?
My next one, I'm busy next year. I've got a mixture in Shoreditch.
It's good in its own way.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm exhibiting with a new gallery in Crystal Palace, and I work with another gallery in Kensington. So I'm busy. Yeah, I've seen a lot of changes, and I know the vibe in South London.
So what values are important to you in the context of living in Southwark, and do you think younger people in this area share the same values?
That's a hard question. I like living in where I live because I like the diversity of people, and I've got a great trust in human nature. I think you should get up and make a friend, right? That's what you got to do. And my heart goes out to young people because I think they should have more opportunities. I think a lot of the problems in Southwark are because of the studio rents are too high. They should be given special compensations. They should be helped.